Hello everyone, I'm James Milan. Welcome to this episode of Talk of the Town. Today I am delighted to welcome Debo Ray to Talk of the Town. Debo is she's a lot of things actually. This is what we're going to find out. We're going to take a musical tour and we're going to go through a number of different genres, etc. And we're going to do it all with one person. So Debo is here to talk about her debut album, which is coming out shortly. We are just into February here of 2025, and you're going to have your first album. We'll talk about that at length.
That's right.
But first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much, James. I'm so happy to be here.
Really glad to have you. Let's start, if you don't mind, all the way back at the beginning, because I know that you are the daughter of immigrants from Haiti.
That's right.
And that in and of itself is an interesting story to me that could take up the whole time, but I won't do that. But just tell me a little bit about your early life, because I know it's connected to the beginning of your musical journey too.
Right. So I was born in Cambridge Hospital, so I am a Massachusetts native, to two Haitian immigrants that had met here in the States. And so they met at church, at a Haitian church. My family is really big in the Haitian evangelical community. And so my parents, being really musically inclined, they went from church to church and kept on performing together before I was even born. They were just the mainstay duo of the Haitian evangelical crowd. So when they had me, I started listening to them when I was growing up. I was like, you're singing, I want to sing too. And, oh, you're playing an instrument, I want to play an instrument too. And it was around age 4 that my parents really sat me down and said, like, hey, do you really want to do this? Like, we can put you in lessons, we can do all this, but we want to make sure that you want to do this.
That's pretty good, right? Yeah. I mean, that's somewhat unusual, less unusual now than in my generation and other generations, but really cool that your parents would take that approach, which is make sure it's okay with you as a 4-year-old.
I think that they understood, because they were singing themselves, that this has to be something that you feel called to do, or else the passion and the music can get fizzled out. So they made sure to make sure that I had all the support that I needed from them.
Yeah, I will just contrast that with my own experience as a young man playing guitar in a Catholic church, as part of the festivities, but without feeling that kind of, the magnetism of it. I enjoyed the performing part of it to some degree, but no surprise, it didn't last. It didn't take really. So that's very much, I do understand what you're saying. So that was the beginning. And your parents both were singers and musicians as well?
Yes, they were singers mostly. My dad also played guitar. My mom played a little bit of guitar herself. Both of them were really invested in that harmony, duo's vocal harmony, that type of thing. Yeah, so that was the main type of music that they created, Christian music, like explicitly Christian music. For me, though, they wanted me to essentially, they wanted me to grow eclectic tastes. So they said, okay, I know that this is what we're doing, but we want to expose you to as much music as possible. So I listened to jazz, I listened to classical music, I listened to Haitian traditional music, listened to things from the far corners of the globe, soul music, rock music, all of it. They were really big on making sure that I had the access to that.
I have to say, I'm already enjoying talking to you, and it's definitely going to fly by this half hour. But some part of my brain is already like, ooh, wouldn't it be nice to have Debo's parents on here too? Because they sound like super interesting people. And again, that kind of parenting, I just really appreciate it. Clearly, it's worked in your case. And in general, I just think that is great that they would want to expose you to this broad palette, which I know you have made great use of in all the years since then. So part of your musical past is a stint at some age with the Haydn and Handel Society here in Boston.
That's right. Yep.
And you're dressed just like most Haydn and Handel Society musicians, I noticed. No, just kidding.
Yeah, clearly the spikes gave it away.
No, but tell us about that. Like, is that just
Right.
kind of part of the distant past for you, or is it still present in some way?
I count the Handel and Haydn experience as my foundational training, especially with voice and music theory at large. So I went there from seventh grade to the end of high school, and main thing that I was a part of, it's called the Vocal Apprenticeship Program. So usually you would have some type of choir that you're a part of. Then if you audition for a soloist position, in which I got a soloist position, you'd also have vocal lessons at New England Conservatory. You'd have music theory and appreciation classes, conducting classes, just running the gamut of anything that is musical that they feel would better the involvement of being a vocalist in their community. So my main thing there was singing, but I also had the opportunity to conduct the choir as a part of that experience. So it's a lot of just really formative foundational training that now, even though I don't explicitly perform classical music anymore, sort of, we'll get to that later, it's still a part of how I sing, you know, how I carry myself and how I carry notes, how I breathe, how I support myself.
Yeah, that is, I mean, very good training ground,
Yeah,
right? Really, really
absolutely.
good in that way. And I just have to ask you before we move on that if your parents were asking you at 4 whether it was okay with you to sing with them, or if that's what you were interested in, then certainly at 7th grade, I guess, when this decision was made, it was your decision.
Oh, yes, yes.
And what do you remember what you were thinking at that time?
Well, I knew that I wanted community because I had been performing in some churches at that point, which was great, but it didn't feel, it wasn't as easy as possible to find other musicians. So I really wanted to make sure that I got a community of musicians that I could be around. I also really wanted to see how far I could take my voice. How could I express myself in a deeper way? And I knew that singing classically would be a challenge, so I really wanted to get my hands on that. Yeah.
That is so, I mean, again, very, very impressive for a 12-year-old, I have to say. Okay, so let's keep moving forward then. So after that came Berkeley, or?
That's right. Yep. Right after high school, at age 17, I came to Berkeley. I had not really known much about the study of jazz music. Obviously, classical was my bread and butter, and I had been listening to jazz, but I came to that school kind of with that same, like, I want to learn, I want to see how far I can take my voice. And so I came there with a track for classical composition and vocal performance, and was there for 5 years. Got to sing in a bunch of different styles.
I'll bet.
Yeah. Yeah, and was able to perform at the Berkeley Performance Center a number of times. My main thing at Berkeley was expose yourself, like get in there. Maybe there's some Brazilian music that you can take a little bit of that vibe and then mix it in with some progressive rock and meld them together with a little bit of soul. Like, it was.
Yeah, I don't know. Mission accomplished is what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
From, you know, again, we'll talk about the music that you are making currently. We'll get to that, but clearly that's going to be a current that people pick up on here. The time at Berkeley, did you feel like you were? You had said that you were looking for community when you started at Handel and Haydn.
Yeah.
At that point, did you feel that you were obviously being exposed to a number of different forms of music, and you were, I think you even were working with metal music in your time there, right? And so just almost anything sounds like it was interesting for you. Was that a community for you as well? Did that,
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Berkeley is one of the most diverse institutions in the country, maybe even in the world. They have 100 different countries represented at that school, and you can only imagine how much music comes out of that, right? So I actually had the opportunity while I was at Berkeley. My my senior year, I joined a band called Women of the World.
Women of the World, yeah.
Right? And this band, the main premise of it was, let's create community around music, but also using culture to bridge people together, to connect people together. So my main thing for that band was, how can I use my excitement and my passion for all of these different sounds in a way that also elevates others. It makes all of these really great forms of music or languages used in music, makes them seen, you know?
Yeah, no, terrific impetus for that, but also I would imagine, again, just such a rich experience it must have been. And that wasn't the only WOW, or
WOW.
Women of the World, or WOW was not the only ensemble that you were part of during your time there, right?
Yeah, I was in several. That was probably my main, I guess I could call it my main project at the time, but I was also, as a classical composer, I was in a consortium of female composers at that time. I was in a couple of rock bands at that time. I was also in a jazz fusion ensemble.
Was that the Tony Lynn Carrington?
Oh, Terry Lynn Carrington.
Terry Lynn
yeah,
Carrington
that was
one?
right after I graduated.
Oh, I see. It was just
Berkeley.
after. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that we should say, in addition to everything else, this young woman by my side here is Grammy nominated.
That's right.
And so, how did that come about? Because it was with one of these groups, I know.
Yes,
right?
it was with Terry Lynn Carrington.
It was with Terry Lynn Carrington.
Amazing jazz drummer, probably one of the best of her generation, and she had already been Grammy Award winning for another project, so she came back with this new project called The Social Science, and we perform essentially social justice songs, or songs that have a social justice bent to them. So I came in, oh yeah, very crazy story actually. She had seen me perform with another band that I was in with the amazing trumpeter, rather trombonist named Hal Crook. And we had an opportunity to play with people like Esperanza Spalding and Antonio Sanchez, a bunch of big jazz names.
Yeah, icons, yeah.
Right? And Terry Lynn saw me at that and she said, let me just give her a call just to see what she's up to. So she gave me a call. She said, hey, I'm doing this quick session. Do you mind coming in and learning a couple of tunes and just so that we can cut a few vocals? I thought, with her being an amazing person, amazing queen of jazz, she was asking me to record a demo so that Esperanza Spalding or Layla Hathaway could sing it. So I sang it to the best of my ability, and then she told me, great, that's going on the record.
Wow.
And I said, what?
Yeah, these are the kinds of experiences you can have with when you have a person of your talent intersecting with opportunities like that.
You. Yeah, right place, right time, I guess.
Well, yeah, right place, right time, right talent.
Well, thank you.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that talent of yours, because we are here today. I mean, you guys actually reached out to ACMi, and we're so appreciative of that, because you are to debut your new album, which will be in vinyl. It will be, as you can tell, there will be vinyl in here at one point, which is awesome. And just in general, congratulations on the fact that this is your debut album. I am surprised, as I think a lot of people are going to be when they hear this, because you have a bunch of videos out, and they're quite popular, and they're certainly well produced, and they're quite compelling and lovely.
Thank you.
And so I would have thought, oh my goodness, of course she's had albums. There's no way that there's this, this much stuff to access on the internet without that. So if you don't mind, just tell us how it is that this is your debut album, number one. And number two, just because I'm curious, and I suspect people are as well, how unusual is it for you to be in the position you are, where you have literally dozens of professionally produced videos out there, but this is your first debut, your first album?
That's a great question. I have only in the last 2 or so years started to take seriously that I have something to say on my own, that I don't need to be part of someone else's project in order to say what I really feel. And so a big part of the reason why this is my debut is because I've been really adamant about giving as much as I can to the projects I've been a part of. And it's been important to me to music direct, to arrange, to be behind the scenes. And when I'm performing, I'm in the company of others. And by no means am I on stage by myself. I do have my band, but I feel like I have now finally understood what it is that I want to say and what I want to talk about. And there's a space for me to do that now. So this debut album is, they're my stories, you know.
I love that. It's interesting, though, that you put it that way, that you feel like you have discovered or come to realize and accept that you have something to say.
Yeah.
So it wasn't simply, I mean, so that was an important component for you to actually take a step like this. It wasn't simply that you would have heard from others, as I'm sure you have, oh my God, you're so good, and you know, let's you know, give you this opportunity, let's put you in front in this situation, etc. Those opportunities were there long before you decided that you were ready to do this. So just talk a little bit about why it is that you needed to feel like you had something to say.
Well, it's kind of similar to what my parents put me through with asking me, do you want this? I didn't know that I wanted it yet. And then I realized I was coming out of a really bad relationship, and I was kind of finding myself, trying to figure out who I am. Am I the person that I was with that person, or am I the person who I was with all these bands I've played with? And I realized, no, I am my own person, and I can stand on my own 2 feet and have a musical thought. So it really required me to say, like, enough. I need to really give this its due. Right? So that's where it came from.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And just, okay, let's talk about the album itself. Tell us what the content is, you know, what the genres are that you're exploring here, etc.
Well, I would say that it's an R&B soul umbrella with elements of rock, elements of funk, elements of hip hop and rap, a lot of just, I would like to call it like American roots music, that type of vibe. As for subject matter, it's a bunch of love songs, either love lost, love found, love that's been established for a while, self-love. I also have songs of encouragement.
Yes, I know you have at least one song which is Love Rejected from Strength, you know what I mean? So,
exactly.
Which again kind of puts you right in line with a number of other talented and popular female artists of the moment. For sure, and I'm sure you're mindful of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very clear trend.
Yeah, and great for you to be part of that.
Thank you.
All of the songs on your album, I believe, are originals.
Yes, they are.
Which
all
is
originals.
very cool, because I know you're also very good at covering other people's material.
Thank
I've
you.
seen some of that as well. But these are originals. So tell us a little bit about just you as a songwriter also. I'd love to know a little bit about the process, because I noticed in listening to some of your music that you're rapping, you're rhyming, it's really, you're having a lot of fun with that. And you're very, you're adept for sure at it. So I'm wondering, in those instances, what came first, you know, that kind of thing. I know it's a very trite kind of question, but also just in general, how are you inspired to come up with the music, you know, the songs that you do? Where do they start?
Where do they start? Well, to be quite honest, I don't do this by myself. I have 2 co-writers, Jerry Valona and Prince Charles Alexander, who's also my producer for the album. And where it came from was from my stories. I would bring up a a circumstance in my life. For example, in the case of one of the songs called Tell Me What You Want, a scenario is I'm in a club and I see a person who seems to be interested in me, but they quickly walk away because they get embarrassed and flustered. Okay, let's write based off of that and talk about like what I would say to that person, right? And based off of that, I would come up with the music, and predominantly the lyrics would be Jerry Vallona, who would kind of construct a simple narrative, and then we would edit and edit and edit and edit and refine as much as we could. As for the raps, you know, it's all about speed, right? It's making sure that it has the right cadence and the right tempo. So we wanted to make sure that the song was really well-rounded. And it goes for all of the songs on the album.
Yeah.
I tried to keep that in mind.
Yeah, well, wonderful little glimpse into the creative process there. Appreciate that. And I hope we're not blowing anything by saying that, you know, you and Jerry working so closely together makes sense, because I found out just before we started taping here that you guys are in fact married. Yeah,
Yes,
which is great,
indeed.
because I have to think, you know, what I have listened to makes me, I am surprised that somebody else would write any part of those lyrics, because they certainly sound like you
Me.
and your voice and your stories.
They are 100% my story, for sure.
Yeah, and that's super clear, I have to
thank
say,
you.
from doing it. You seem to have a lot of fun with your videos.
Yeah, I do.
And just if you want to like pick out a couple that we also can, you know, show people a little part of.
Absolutely.
That a couple that were particularly fun, and why, that would be good to know.
Well, one of my favorite music videos, it's actually not from a song on this album. It's a single that I have released a couple of years ago now. It's a song called Cope. And that is a song that I wrote with the theme of Alice in Wonderland.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I am super fond of. Lewis Carroll's amazing. And so we tried to get a bunch of that imagery, not to be too on the nose, but to get some of that whimsy. So I got the opportunity to work with some dancers that were representing the Mad Hatter and the Bunny Rabbit and the Cheshire Cat, and it was a lot of fun to produce that.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you picked that one, because that one is super memorable for the reasons that you're talking about, and also because I noticed in one of the conceits there, one of the things that you're doing is you have the playing cards, and your face is on the playing cards, and you do some things that I'm not even going to try and do with my eyes that you're able to do. Yeah, but very like almost rhythmically with the, you know, with the beat of the music as well. It's you know, obviously it made an impression. But yeah, that sense that you are also bringing in allusions to kind of classical tropes that we're familiar with, and having a lot of fun with it, seems like, again, a good summation of a lot, or description of a lot of your approach to this work, which is taking, you know, maybe even seemingly disparate kind of components and putting them together in a, you know, pleasing and original way.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm blessed to be able to do what I love, right? And because I love it so much and I feel so much joy when I do this, whether it's a video or a song or a performance, my hope is that other people can let their cares fall away for a moment and participate in the joy with me, right? Feel that for themselves. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Absolutely. I want to, so one thing, Debo, that this interview will run for a long time.
Yeah.
But we do want to make mention of something that is, you know, the vast majority of listeners to the interview, because it will run for a long time, may not be able to make it to this show, but let's let people know in case they hear this in
Absolutely.
time. So you've got the album's coming out on February 14th of this year, 2025, and then you've got
an album release party / concert. Yes, I'm going to be having an amazing set of music, not only by myself, but from my opening act, who's one of my students.
Oh, really?
From Berkeley that I currently teach at. So we are going to be performing the entire album on February 22nd at the Burren in Davis Square in Somerville. And it's going to be a really great night.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think it's a can't miss night, folks. Do remember that. And you just mentioned it'll be with one of your students.
That's right.
This is like a full circle kind of thing
Full
that now
circle
you are.
moment.
Is that right?
It's amazing to be able to pay it forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, just tell me how, is yours a typical situation for Berkeley grads where you have an opportunity to go back and teach, or is there something that you are, some kind of special thing you offer?
Well, I would hope that I have something special to offer. With all of my experience in all of these different styles that I've cultivated, I think Berkeley was looking for faculty that can speak to all of these different styles and be able to pay that forward to their students. So that's my main thing now with teaching is, hey, what style would you like to get into? This one? All right, let's try these 3 as well and just see how you like it.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing.
Just nudge them in different directions, exactly.
Yeah.
And that coming from somebody who practices what she preaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's probably quite effective. I want to, just make sure that people understand, remember about the February 14th, February 22nd show, but also understand that you are heading places. That's my opinion. What does that matter, right? But
it matters.
I think you're heading places. That's what I can. You've got real talent. It's real talent, that's for sure. So I'm curious, where do you see yourself going? And of course, this is particularly topical because the Grammys for this year were just very recent, and you were watching them, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts might be about that.
What a privilege it would be if I were able to get a Grammy for my music, my original music. I had been floored from all of the performances from this recent Grammys, from all the new artists that had an opportunity to showcase what they do. And I saw a lot of what I am doing in a lot of those artists. So that's the goal. I'm going to shoot for the stars and land on the moon.
All right. Well, that sounds entirely doable, actually, in your case. Obviously, you've got the work in front of you, and it's easy for me to say. But I really do mean that. And people can see that if they listen to the album, which I will hold up the right way this time, everybody. Or find your videos, etc. Go to the Burren and other local venues and beyond where you are appearing. But you're a very dynamic performer. I can also say that, absolutely. We hope to have you back here at ACMi.
Thank you. I hope to come back.
If we can get you. So we will look forward to that.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you for taking the time for me too. I appreciate
absolutely,
it.
Absolutely. I have been speaking with Debo Ray. She is a person on the move with a new album to celebrate. It is self-titled, as you can tell. And please do look for it. I'm James Milan. Thank you so much for joining us for Talk of the Town. We'll see you next time.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.